Hi, welcome to my blog. My name is Tom Shu, and today we're going to do a sharpening tutorial. After you get done doing all of your adjustments and your skin adjustments and your color adjustments and your exposure adjustments, one of the last things you're going to do to your image is sharpen it. Okay, so here we have a picture of some eyes, and I've got rid of the rest so we can just focus on the eyes. And you can see we're about 70%. Let's get here. Let's get around 100%. Okay. Um, and you can see that, you know, yes, there's a lot of detail there, but if we're going to be doing some large prints, we, somewhere where somebody can walk up really close and look at the image, you can see that some sharpening needs to be applied to this image. Um, you know, the skin pores are there, but I'm not talking about retouching. I'm just talking about the actual sharpness of the eye. So there's lots of ways you can retouch and do anything inside Photoshop. So I'm going to go over a few of them, and I'm going to go over a way that a lot of people don't know about that is going to change the game for everyone if you learn this technique. Okay, so one of the first ways that a lot of people sharpen things is they go filter and then they choose sharpen. Okay, they have sharpen. Okay, let's back that off actually. Control Z, let's undo. And let's start a new layer. So we'll Control J or Command J on a Mac to get that. And on this new layer, we'll go Filter, Sharpen, Sharpen. Okay. So if we zoom in and we hide this layer, you can see there's without the sharpening applied, and then there's with the sharpening applied. And if you look closely, you can see that it's sharpened it quite a bit. And if you want more sharpening, you go Filter, Sharpen, Sharpen More. Wow, we've really overdone it now. Okay, you can see how it's just taken all that detail and turned it into grain. So that's not really a good way. So let's delete that layer. Let's make a new layer, Control J or Command J on a Mac, and we go Filter, Sharpen, Unsharp Mask. A lot of people love the Unsharp Mask. Okay, and back a few versions of Photoshop back, I was a fan of it, but I don't use it. I don't ever use this. So this is the way you work. There's zero sharpening applied here, and you can see a preview. Okay, and if you adjust the radius, you can see. Let's pull up some sharpening amount. If you adjust the radius, you can see how much sharpening is applied to something. You can also see it over here. Watch the iris. Okay, it starts to sharpen it, and you can decrease or increase the amount of sharpening. Okay, so it gets a little out of whack pretty quick. Your threshold has to do with how quickly that the sharpening applies. So if we bring our radius down low and we increase our sharpening and then we adjust our threshold to get an effect till we get to where we like, you can see that sharpening is starting to take over inside the eye. So we click OK, and you can see a before and after. Okay, so I'm not a big fan of the Unsharp Mask. So Control J. One way that I've done sharpening for a long time is if you go to Filter, Other, and you use Highpass. Okay, now Highpass is definitely a way that you can get sharpening. Because what is sharpening? It's contrast in the midtones. So it takes any kind of transition between a dark area and a light area, and it emphasizes it, draws a black line next to it, basically. So here you'd bring up your pixels until you get an area of contrast or an area of detail that you deem that is pretty good. We click OK, and then we're going to put this layer as overlay. Okay, and we can back the opacity off, and this controls the effect. Okay, or you can brush it in, is the way I like to do it. We use a layer mask. So there's before and there's after on the sharpening. So what you do is you apply a layer mask by holding down the Alt key and clicking the layer mask, so that fills it with black. You grab your brush tool. Okay, let me bring this brush tool down. Okay, and I don't want a soft all the way brush, but I don't want hard all the way. So we're going to be painting with white in the layer mask, And you can see we can come in here and paint on the iris and get it sharp, but selectively sharp. So we paint around the pupil, make it dark right there. Come on this outer edge, paint around the eye. Okay, and you can lay it in your sharpening effect, and you have control. So there's after, there's before, and there's after. So that's pretty good sharpening, huh? This is the way I've been doing it for a long time, but there's a better way. Let's delete this layer. Okay, so this time we're just going to create a blank layer. Remember, after you've done everything else, sharpening is last. Okay, so we're going to create a new layer, and we're going to come over to this tool over here. Do you see this hand tool? This is the Dodge Burn Sponge tool. Well, over above it, let's see here. There's a Sharpen tool. There's a Blur tool, a Smudge tool. This is what you'll see here, and there's a Sharpen tool. Now, before CS5, there was not this area that says Protect Detail. Well, this is a magic slider. This is a magic button here. Okay, we want to click on Protect Detail. Also, we want to sample all layers. So this will sample the information below and create just a layer here so our file size doesn't get too big. So we can start off with, say, somewhere around 20% or so like this. So we'll get our brush, and I don't want a completely soft brush and I don't want a really hard brush. We'll come in and we'll sharpen our eye, and we can start to really pound out the detail quickly and precisely on that new layer. Okay, and we can use a layer mask to control it. I mean, you can see that that is some serious detail in the eye. And if I don't want to wait so long, I can bring this effect up to like 50%, and I can just go in there and paint it quickly. I mean, look how sharp we can make that if we just keep working it any way we want. Okay, so then we can grab our opacity and slide it down and get rid of it. So let's delete that. I overdid it on purpose so you can see. So I'm just going to start off at 50%. I'm going to tighten my brush up, maybe somewhere around 75%. Okay, we're going to create a new layer. I'm going to grab the Sharpen tool at 50%, protecting the detail, and I'm just going to paint it in. Same way as I did before with the overlay. I'll make the brush a little smaller. I'm going to go around this edge. And if you turn off this layer, you can see what it's doing. It's actually creating sharp detail on a new layer. Okay? You can change the blend modes as well, or you can just drag the opacity down to control how much you want. So there's before and there's after. Now, you don't want to overdo it with this. Okay? Let's delete that. Create a new layer. You can come in, just paint in on, say, like eyelashes, for example, and they'll darken up and they will get thicker and more contrast, and they'll become sharper just with one little stroke. We'll just apply this again, make the brush big, just go over the eye quickly. Do not want to overdo it. Let's hit these eyelashes real quick, and there's a before and an after, all with just a couple of brush strokes on a new layer. And you can see that we're at 106%. So let's move it down to 100%. And there you have it. Really sharp detail with just a quick few strokes. Well, I want to thank you all for taking time to visit my blog today. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the blog section below, and I'll address them. If you have any ideas for topics and things you want covered in future episodes, I'd really appreciate the feedback. So I can teach you guys stuff that you want to know. Until next time, we'll see you soon.